I would like you to welcome Tiziano Dossena, who is a member of the Garibaldi Lodge, which many of us belong to. And this is the start of the Italian-American Heritage Month, hopefully. His dad was an artist, and he's going to tell us about the book he's written about his father and his dad's life. Thank you, Tiziano.
Thank you. Okay, first of all, some people know who I am, some people don't. So let me see. Let's see. This is L'Idea magazine. L'Idea magazine was founded in 1974. Now I was 74. I was in college, and members of our friendship from Molo di Bari in Carroll Gardens, Brooklyn, founded this. They asked me to send them articles and poems, which I did. And then I went to Italy in 78, and I lost contact with them for a while. But when I came back to the United States in 87, after my father's death, because I would never leave him, I wanted to be with him, I started the contact again, and since 1990, I am the editorial director of this magazine. Okay, so that's one thing. These are some of the books that I published. These are all books that I wrote or I edited, co-edited with Leonardo Campanile. There is essays on Niccolò van Westerhout. There's 5 different books on that. And there are 3 anthologies of Italian-American writers. These are all my personal projects. I put out a lot of good Italian-American writers together. And there's also an essay on Federico Tosti, who died at 104, and who I met when he was 100. And I spent a week with him in Abruzzo, a beautiful place in the mountains. And he's a great poet. He used to write in a Roman language. Okay? And then there is my poetry book. And there's also the short story book. Some of them. But the most important, books about my father. I wrote previously 2 books about my father. The one is The World as an Impression, talks about the landscape art of my father, who he was famous for, and where that was his basis, that's what he started us. And La Danza del Colore, which is the Italian version of the book that you're going to see. You know, as you see, this is La Danza del Colore because the Dance of Color is not available yet. It's going to be available in a couple of weeks, physically speaking. So, that's my father. He was 77, I think, in that picture. Beautiful man. Beautiful inside out. An artist. He was born an artist. He was born in a family of artists. 4 brothers, 4 painters. He is the most known. This brother Camillo was also known. He was also a professor at the Accademia di Brera, his brother. And the other 2 were pretty well known, but not as much because they didn't paint as a profession. He painted as a profession. Okay, so who was Emilio Giuseppe Dossena? He was also known artistically as Giuseppe Dossena. He was born in Cavenago d'Adda, Italy, on December 13, 1903, to Massimiliano and Giuseppa Zavaglia. Emilio Giuseppe is the 3rd son of 10 children. Not all of them survived. The family owned a shop in which they sold ceramics and baskets, which they also produced. This is the house where he was born. And next is his parents. This picture is from 1910. My grandparents, who obviously I never met, were born in 1863 and 1867. Italy was formed in 1861. So you're talking about 2 years after. If they were born 2 years before, they would not be Italian. They would be Austro-Hungarian, right? Because we had been invaded. We had been sold by Napoleon. And this nice guy being Italian, but okay. Okay. When the artist is a young man, still, the Dossena children are struck by a tragedy, the loss of their father to tetanus. Now, remember we do a tetanus shot, right? But nobody tells you how easy it is to get tetanus. He had a splinter under his nail. And that's what he died of, because they didn't have a tetanus shot. 3 days, that's all it took. The moment the tetanus attacks you, there is no way to stop it. So, my father was 12 years old at the time. With his brother, he tried to keep the business, continue the family business for a while. But you can see, a 12-year-old, what can he do? But they did. They, told me stories. It was like 13 or 14, he used to take the horse and go all the way to Milan, which is like, I don't know, 35, 40 kilometers with the horses, and get all the ceramics from Richard Ginori, which is in Milan, and bring it back. And he would take the whole day to go and the whole day to come back. And he said when the horse came back, he was so tired that he wouldn't even drink water, he wouldn't eat, he would just collapse from being tired. But that's what he was doing. Unfortunately, in those times, when something happened to your parents, you adapt to it, right? Now, the gentleman on the left is his brother Camillo with his little brother Battista. And he was 3 years older than my father. So at the beginning, he took over the family. But then when he was 17, he was sent to the army, World War I. So my father was the sole provider of a family. There was 6 children left. Actually, at that time, 7. Because there's something else about one of the brothers. The one on the right is my father when he was 26 years old. Okay. The computer is giving me strange stuff here. Here it goes. Okay. Sorry. The one on the right is still my father. Now, what's so special about this picture? He's in Venice, okay? He won a prize for the best sculpture in school at Scuola del Castello, because he went to school, 2 different academies. The Scuola del Castello for sculpture, where he graduated, and those are some of the sculptures from when he was in school, okay? And then he went to Accademia di Brera, which is the painting, and he graduated from that too. But that's what, was what he did when he was in school. He wasn't that young, as you can see, because he had to take care of his sisters and his mother, right? Now, regarding his mother, when he was still in school, or he just graduated, I think, he painted his mother, the one on the left, 1935, okay? And the one on the right is also his mother. That's a drawing. He has a lot of drawings who I don't know who owns them. I have a copy of them, but I don't have the original. I have no idea who owns them. I never found out who owns them. This is one of the mysterious things when, too many years passed by. They might have been destroyed for what I know, because there was some kind of a accident somewhere. Now, regarding the children, I said about one of the brothers, 1919, his brother Emilio died of Spanish flu. Remember, Spanish flu destroyed 1/3 of the population in Europe. We're not talking about a small amount of people. Okay? So, here goes the story. My father's name is really Giuseppe Dossena. He is Giuseppe Emilio Dossena by baptism, but not, legally speaking, he could use both. As you know, in Italy, like I am Tiziano Tommaso Costantino Dossena on the baptism. So I could use all of them, but I don't need to. So at that time, he was using only Giuseppe. But after his brother Emilio passed away, he started calling himself Emilio, because he actually saw his brother pass away. It was right in front of him. So he was so attached to his brother, who was 2 years younger. And he started using the name. Not on paintings, though. He only used the name on the paintings in the late 60s, because there was another painter that would sign as G. Dossena. So to avoid mixing up, he started putting E. G. Dossena, which is Emilio Giuseppe. So that's, that's my beautiful father. Errol Flynn, right? I always say that. I think so. In addition to academic studies in art, he devotes himself to sports. There he goes, he was a boxer. And he was a very good boxer. He was going to become a professional. Until his mother told him, I'm so tired of seeing you coming back with the black and blues in your face. Because when they sparred, they didn't use those protections in the old time. They sparred just like that. And when you get hit in the face, you become black and blue. So he gave up on that and he dedicated himself to art, alone to art, which is very good. Because that actually brought him to what he really was good at. So he graduated from the Accademia of Brera and the Scuola del Castello. He starts to decorate churches with his large paintings and frescoes. Now, these paintings in particular, there's a lot of them. There's about, I think, 8 in this church. The one on the right. The one on the left are what they call brown frescoes. They're frescoes on the lower part around. They're like a decoration. They're not really, complicated paintings, but the one on the right, they're big, they're large paintings. They are, I think, 7 or 8 foot tall. And they are in the church in the town of Legnano, near Milano. Why is it important? It's very important because this is the church on the left. And that's where he met my mother. He was painting. And she fell in love with the painter. In those times, painter, so artistic and so romantic. And they ended up getting married in that church. And that's my father and my mother. 1937. Years go by. In 1938, his first daughter, Marilena, is born. The one on the right, the little one, that's my older sister. She is 14 years older than me. I have 4 sisters and a brother. My brother passed away, but the 4 sisters are holding on tight. They're doing good. The one on the left is my mother. A painting from the early years of their marriage, right? Okay. We're talking about during the war, World War II. What happened during the war? He had an exhibit in 1943. In this exhibit, he sold all the paintings, which is out of the ordinary for any artist, whether good or bad. And from 1943 until about 8 years ago, nobody could tell me what those paintings look like. We had no pictures. Nobody was taking pictures of those paintings in 1943. You had other worries, okay? Actually, that year, they lost their house for the bombing of Milan. They were in the apartment, the whole building collapsed, so the apartment was destroyed and they moved out of Milan. But he had this exhibit just before, so he was very lucky in that sense. And sometimes, a few years ago, somebody contacted me from Sardinia, and they had this painting. Look how marvelous painting. This is from the 1943 paintings that were sold at that exhibit. She inherited from a gentleman who had no children, who was a neighbor, and she took care of this gentleman. And she said, "Listen, I'm going to leave you these 2 paintings. I don't want them to get lost. These 2 paintings. One of this, and the other one is from his brother Camillo." And said they're famous artists of the time. I bought them and so on and so forth. And this is how we trace this painting. I'm sure with the publication of the book, with time, I'll be able to get more information. During the war, besides decorating churches and private villas, he paints his 4 daughters. Now, the one on the left bottom is 3 daughters, actually. The oldest daughters at play. The one on the top is the oldest daughter sleeping, and the one on the right is a cradle, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, the coloring at this point, as you saw from the preceding painting, it's intense. He accepts no middle ground. The artist paints what he sees, an impression that the image made on him. That's why it's called impressionist. Impression. It's not 100% accurate. It's the impression, because the lighting, color, everything changes. Okay? His works are realism adapted to the sensitivity of the painter and reveal an incomparable lyricism. He also did a lot of drawings during the war. These are all during the war, 1943, 1944. When he lost the house, the whole family went to live for a few months with their in-laws in the city of Legnano, where they got married, right? There, my youngest sister of them all, and she's 9 years older than me, was born in Legnano, under another bombing. Here goes under another bombing. So after that, they decided to get out of that area, and they went in a rural area. But how do you find housing in those times? To the priest, because my father painted churches, right? So the priest of Legnano had a friend priest in a town called Grezzago, and they made them move over there, and he ended up working from that area. He used to work for an architect, it was a famous architect, Tommaso Buzzi, and he used to arrange for him to decorate villa, restore them, and so on and so forth, because outside of Milan the bombing didn't exist. It was always around Milan. So, and Legnano, by the way, Legnano is attached to Milan. It's like a suburb, so that's why it was getting bombed. And these drawings are somehow, like the one in the middle tells you what my father was doing. Lunchtime, he used to go to the local tavern, a trattoria, right? And eat. But what happens, people don't only eat there, they drink wine. And that's a drunkard, because they used to come out, they used to drink a little too much, play cards and all that. These are people that maybe didn't have jobs, or they work in the farm, they start at 3 in the morning. Lunchtime they're free, and that's what happens. And the one on the bottom, on the right, it's the horse of the time. It's not his horse though, you know, just to say. Now, as I was saying, I'm trying to project the fact that you need to write about your family. Some of the stories that I was able to get together, this book, it took 11 years to be put together. Why? Because I had to get images. And the problem with images is that pictures from 1950s and 60s, they change color. If you had old pictures, the color picture become pink. They like pink, they become pink. So you have to correct all of them. And then sometimes they are not on focus. And unfortunately, it's very hard to trace back who has certain paintings. They belong to collectors, they bought them. I don't know who has them. I have a picture, but I have no idea where the painting went. We didn't keep track of that. Also because something happened in the 60s that we're going to go over that made us lose a lot of information. Anyway, in the first decade after the war, the artist paints many portraits of his children. Look at that. Guess who that is? Yes, it's me. With the teddy bear. Remember I said the teddy bear? That was with the teddy bear, right? And the other one, I was a captain of the Union Army. Sometimes I was a sergeant in the Confederate Army. Depending upon the weeks, I didn't know the difference. I just liked the gray and the blue, you know. But I was very young. Over there I was 2 years old on the right. And I think I was 4 or 5 on the left. And then more pictures, and that's the one on the left is my sister Maria Luisa. That is a marvelous painting. I believe it's 5 foot tall. It's a large painting. It's one of the most impressionistic painting that we're left with that I can trace, because it's still in the family. The one in the middle, yes, it's me. I was always reading, so I was easy to paint. You know, my father used to tell me, read your book, and I was reading my book, and he would paint me. And the one on the right is my sister Massimiliano, who used to sew. She became a seamstress. but she used to like to do that. So her passion turned, hello, welcome. You just come at the right time. You just missed the roots of the situation. He also painted glimpses of the Lombard countryside. Precious images that are purchased by collectors add to the income that comes from his restoration and decoration works. The problem is that I don't know where these paintings are. These are reconstructed pictures, photographs that was sent to me from Italy, from my sister. She said, I know the year they were painted, we have no idea who bought them. And that becomes the biggest issue here. We hope that the internet is going to help us trace back some of the stuff.
What a beautiful day outside, huh?
Now, Italy recovers. 1960s. In the 1960s, whether in Umbria or in other parts of Italy, especially in Umbria in particular actually, this picture, you can see him in the middle, is right in the middle of a valley in Umbria. It's called the Valley of Parano. The one on the left, top left, is the castle of Parano. And all the other ones are pictures from the valley, different period of the year, because he was there for over a year, redecorating the whole castle inside and restoring all the old frescoes. That castle, I think, is from the 1100 or the 1200. So he did that. After that, I remember going to visit in the summer. I spent 2 weeks over there with my mother, and it was a marvelous place. Umbria is a great place to visit, by the way. Eating bread with oil and salt on top, because the bread is without salt in Umbria. So. Anyway, so he did that, and after that he did the Castello de Giovi, which is another castle. So he was 2 years basically out of the house, doing that. This is him painting in Umbria, actually. My brother took a picture of it. But he also painted in the 60s in Liguria, in Lombardy. The one on the right is Portofino. Everybody knows Portofino, right? Portofino is one of the most important towns. And we used to go and visit because we used to go every year in Celle Liguria, which was close. The one on the left carries this history in it. If you're looking at the right of the picture, you see that S, that stands for Solomeria. That's, there was a store. Right above there is an apartment. That was the apartment that was used during the war by his brother Camillo and his family, because he was teaching, he was a professor of academia, but at a certain point in 1943, living in Milan was almost impossible, because they bombed 3-4 times a day, okay, and at night too, so you couldn't sleep. So he moved out with his children, and he kept that apartment. I believe they still have it, to tell you the truth, rental. He used to belong to a priest. Again, same reason. My uncle used to also paint churches. First they did that together, then they split, because sometimes interests are different, and also they lived quite far from each other. But that particular picture for me is very important, because many things happen in those 3-4 houses block. Well, first of all, I was attacked by wasps. And I'm the one that fly, not the American, not white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. Because a kid decided to put a stick in a wasp nest while I was walking with my mother on the street. So I ended up in the hospital because my head was like this. But if you look in the back, there is a house that is almost like pink color. When I was there on vacation with my cousins, I was actually, my father painted me a few times, teaching younger children how to play cards, things like that, because I used to like that. I used to like to teach. I don't know why. I didn't know anything, but I like to teach anyway. But in that particular day, I was teaching the kids how to play cards, and I was on the left of this painting. But we heard a shot, and he was coming from that house, and he turned out to be that a small child of 3 decided to get the rifle off the wall, the hunting rifle off the wall, and the father, stupid father, left it loaded. So I'll let you know what happened, right? So to me, those are old memories of when I was a kid. So my father not only painted beautiful painting, but he painted memories for us, for the one that we kept, special memories. Here we go. What something means to you, you should tell your children, so your children know what that object, in this case it's a painting, but it could be any object. It could be a little missile from your grandmother or whatever, but it's something that what it means to you. That's the important thing to do. That's my mother in Celle Ligure, because my father also painted all of us whenever we were looking. But he did that because he did a lot of, this period of his life, he did a lot of decoration and painting in churches. So he suffered, because painting academically in the churches is one thing, but he wanted to express himself, and this was his expression of the time. So he wanted to express the way he felt, which he couldn't do so much academically, because you have to follow certain rules when you paint, the beautiful saints and Jesus. You cannot make Jesus pink, bluish or something like that because you like to. So you got to stick to the, veracity, what it looks like. But since we're talking about art and decorations, here we go. We have art and decoration. These are sketches. As you can see from the pictures, it's actually this size sketch of things that, objects, in this case a viola playing, that were put in villas. People used to decorate all their villas, You see from the movies all these beautiful, like in Versailles, all these beautiful decorations. Well, he did that a lot. So the one on the left was a painting for a church, which I don't know which church it is. I'm suffering for that. Be with me on my side. I'm suffering because I can't find out how many churches he painted in. And the other ones are just small sketches. The one on the middle and on top right, again from a villa. The one on the right, on the lower part, it's called Circolo dei Dadi. It's the most important club in Milan. If you want to be part of it, you better be a millionaire. Because I'm not 100% sure who it was, but when I remember it was like over $50,000 just to belong to that, just in those times. He painted all those things. The whole Circolo dei Dadi inside, which they won't let you in, even to take pictures. This was a pictures from the 1950s, because that's when he painted it, or 1960s. He painted the whole Circolo dei Dadi, all those decorations you see, with the painting inside, everything was done by him. So decoration was important, and as you can see, the one on the left is a sketch. It reminds you of Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci. That's what used to do, little sketches for the angels and all that, because that's what they did in the church. And the one on the right is that it's something special that you don't see too much. They used to call them papier paint, which is painted paper. Says, I always wondered why, and then I figured it out. These were always either Chinese or Japanese kind of landscaping with flowers, and my father had to do a research on the type of flowers and the type of birds that were there. Very colorful, but they were painted on paper that was glued to canvas. Now the effect is, as you know, Chinese used to like to paint on paper. But if you just paint on paper, what happens when you roll it? Cracks and all that. So this is not a small painting, but the next one, it's even larger. Okay, so you're talking about paintings that could have been anywhere from 6 feet wide to the whole wall, like this, all with decoration like that, and they're stunning. When you go in, it's like, and you look at the painting, you stay like this. You don't want to detach yourself because how colorful. And this was something that only 2 or 3 painters in Italy knew how to do. Because there was a technique to it, just like in frescoes. I don't know if you're aware, but Michelangelo was very good with frescoes. Leonardo da Vinci sucked. He was so bad, that's why we have so much problems with that big painting in Milan that to restore, because he didn't know to prepare frescoes. You have to know. You think he was so smart, but he didn't have the patience to learn from somebody else at times. And those things you learn from other people. And that's why he went to school, and he used to do fresco and restore frescoes, which is particular techniques.
Tiziano,
Tiziano.
I have a question. I look at this and it's beautiful. Is this just from his mind, or did he have, or was he painting from an actual, what do you say, nature? I mean, there's flowers, there's birds,
Right.
there's tree stuff. Was he like sitting in his backyard and he saw this, or in a park someplace? Or just from his mind?
This is all fantasy.
Oh, it's all fantasy.
It's all
Okay,
fantasy.
It's gorgeous.
He knew the type of flowers, he knew the type of birds, but he studied, and then he was all fantasy. That's what he was great at. That's why they wanted to, and they actually sold for a lot of money.
bet.
Not so much because they were Dossena painting, but it's because they were special papier paint.
Yeah.
The people were looking for it, and they couldn't find it.
Yeah.
And through the architect, Buzzi, there's a big story. If you look it up, Buzzi is a very important person. He's one of the most, besides Joe Ponti, is one of the most important architects in the 20th century, right? In Italy. By the way, that's why I'm called Tommaso. He was my godfather. All in the family.
Yeah.
Anyway, through his architect, you will find, like in Vernizzi and Borletti, all these big corporations, families. They were families, right? They were all dukes and counts, and they became, manufacturers or whatever. And they had beautiful villas, and they wanted decoration with that. The moment one saw it on somebody else's villa, he wanted the same one, which will never do the same. And that's the beauty of it, But yes, it created all out of fantasy, That's why it's called a danza dei colori. Look at the colors, it means. Explains itself, right? Now, by the end of the 1960s, the artist was well known and respected. His paintings sell at a high price, but something happens. He has a studio, and above the studio, because the studio it's almost like in Italy they don't really have a basement. It's on a lower ground, and there is a store above, which is a dry cleaners. As they made a mistake with a machine or something, I don't know, but it blew up. And guess what? His studio blew up too. So everything, almost everything that was in that studio, documentation especially, because he didn't keep it at home because our apartment was not that large, disappeared. And that's why it was very hard to trace things out. But because of that, he was very distressed. So my mother, they knew people, Sicilian family who had moved to Brooklyn, and they had lived in Milan before. Actually, the lady of the house of the Sicilian family was a friend of my mother because they met in a hospital, I think, when they had the last baby, something like that. And they kept us friends, and they had moved back to New York. So they were there. So my mother came in 1964 to visit. She said it's great and all that because she didn't see, South Bronx. She only saw the good parts, right? So she said, well, we should go to the United States, just to distract him from the tragedy of losing the studio. And so they decided to come to Brooklyn. And you can see, that's a backyard in Brooklyn of 54 Chiba Place, Carroll Gardens. Carroll Gardens is a marvelous place, by the way. It's all brownstones. These are all brownstones. Here it is. That's my father again. He's 66 here at this point. He came to the United States when he was 66. Now on the left is a painting, which is this painting over here, right?
Right there.
That he painted of when he was able to go out, he had to adjust. What this?
Down there.
Here, sorry, this painting is right here. He had to adjust to the world of the United States. He never learned the language, so he came. How was his mouth? Now you need to restore. That's what he needed to make because people didn't know him yet, right? So you need to make. So we went, and there's a place near downtown where there used to be all antique stores. They sell paint. So we used to go over there and started getting restoration work. I was the one asking. I was a young kid, 16, 17, and It was hard at the beginning, but tell you the truth, this is our friends, Sicilian family, Buongiorno, were very helpful because they did what they call an advertisement campaign for them. So they started being known and sell a couple of paintings and all that to get it back, because what would be the point of coming to the United States if things didn't get better from the destruction of the study, right? Okay. Besides that, he's known as a restorer, but this is the backyard, for example. Again, backyard, that's my mother on the right, and the other lady is the landlady, should I say, sorry. Her name was Concetta Arezzo. I remember, why do I remember her name? Because we didn't call her like that. We called it Petrosino. Does anybody know Sicilian? No, okay.
That doesn't ring a bell though, that word.
Petrosino is prezzemolo, pasta.
Oh, yeah, what is it?
Pasta, right? Pasta. Why do we call, I was a young kid, right? I was 16 when I came. Why do we call it Petrosino? Because the first conversation, she couldn't speak English. She spoke broken English, really. I mean, like she must have known 20 words in English. She didn't speak Italian. She spoke Sicilian.
Oh, right.
Now, I happen to be lucky because I do understand most Sicilian, but at the time a little less. And she was explaining to my mother how to cook something with parsley inside. She said, Petrosino, and we're all looking at each other because we have no idea. In Italian it's prezzemolo. Petrosino and prezzemolo don't have much in common. So the name stuck. So we called them Mrs. Petrosino. And that was, that's how she stuck. And this a yacht race in the Bay of New York that he painted. You see it, his emotions at the time. He's very frustrated, but he's got so much to give, right? So he also restores now. Now he's starting to get known. He restored for the Metropolitan Museum.
Oh, wow.
He restored Renoir, Rembrandt. One day he came home with one of these paintings. They told him to. I said, "Are you crazy?" He had it in the bag because they told him to bring it home. It's like, I don't know how security works at the Metropolitan, but he had it in the bag. I think it was a Rembrandt. It's like, Daddy, don't ever do that. I mean, don't let them convince you to do something that you damage. You're gonna pay for the rest of your life, you know. Anyway, this is a painting for the Playboy Club. At that time, Playboy Club was very, very live. And there was one of the paintings, I don't remember the exact painter, but the reason he was very good at restoring paint, besides he knew how to restore, but it's because his work was very colorful. So when he came down to a Renoir or this kind of painting, he knew how to match the colors perfectly. Which most restorers can have the technique, but the color matching is a different story. And the stroke, which being an impressionist helped him a lot with that, you know. And we have another painting here, right?
Yes.
There goes.
Beautiful.
That's that painting and that.
Yeah.
This is what's happening at the end of the 1971. Somewhere there, you know, it's not that it happened overnight. But something was happening with these paintings. You see they're becoming more and more colorful, but it's happening a little more. Look on the one on the left. There is no way that you saw a butterfly like that flying in the yard, right? Okay, so he is becoming an expressionist. He saw the butterfly in the garden, and he painted it by memory, but at this point he's doing more than painting impressions, okay? His work slowly mutates from neo-impressionist to neo-expressionist. Sometimes he borders the abstract. For example, here. Now, it's not abstract yet, but you can see, these are people, you know, ladies in the rain with the umbrellas. Those are horses on the left. If you look at it, the action of the horses, it is more valid this way than if you actually were a verist and tried to paint the horses as they are. So the expression becomes the most important thing. He creates what he has felt when he saw an image. Not the image he saw, but what he felt. So this is the next stage of his life. And you can see, these are very unusual paintings from what you saw before. They're quite different, the style. The one on the left, which I own, it's a pretty large painting. It's a group of people walking in the woods, but it's a feeling he had. There was something happening. I don't remember the exact occurrence, but we had something going on, and he just remembered, and then he just painted it the way he felt about it. And those are feelings. They're emotions. The one in the middle is about peace. It's emotions. The one on the right, I believe, here we go again with these are miners coming out of the mine. Now, when you know that and you look at them, then you get the feeling he had when he saw, I believe he saw something on TV about miners coming out and getting sick and all that. And you can see that, you get that dread in the painting. So he's able to express those things. Now, as a new expressionist, he goes further. He creates what he calls a series of jest, scherzi. Jest, why? He didn't do them to sell them. He did it because he felt that like expressing particular emotions. I call it the jest. You can see this as an orchestra. So they are just, well, like flashes of images. Okay? When you get to be to the bottom, right, and to the left, you can see the abstract now. It's coming in. When we tell you the name of the painting, it is not abstract anymore. Until you know, you can't, it's very hard. And that is the concept behind it. The one on top right, it's like the preceding one, it's just an impression of the moment. Return to the motherland. In 1977, he goes back to Milan. I graduated from college for the second time, so he said enough with him. Now we can leave him behind. They did, but I caught up with them anyway. I went back to study medical school in Italy. Anyway, he said, I'm not a doctor, just in case. I just studied in medical school. Didn't learn anything, I just studied. In 1977, he went back to Milan, where he's embraced by the cultural elite. Now, this picture was taken at the opening ceremony of the art exhibit at the Circolo Meneghina Ceca of Milan. From the left, it's my brother, the Honorary Corrado Bonfantini. He was a senator in Italy. He was the liberator of Milan from the Nazi. He was the first voice on Italia radio said, Milano è libera, Milan is free. Okay? The gentleman in the middle is Mario Soldati. He's the one introducing the exhibit. He is one of the most known writers in Italy. He's passed away a few years ago. And he was a movie director. His famous book is America Primo Amore, America First Love, because he came here to teach at the university. He was invited because he was a well-known writer, and his experience of coming to the United States, how he thought the United States was going to be, and how it really was. It's a very interesting book. If you ever get it, it's also available in translation. And the one on the right is the publisher, Benito Di Lauro. He was the publisher of all the maps you see in Italy. In the stores, that was the Di Lauro editions. He was also the president of the Circolo, where they had the exhibit, the gallery, you know. So these are the kind of people that we were hanging around. When I was a kid, when I went back, when I was a kid, I knew these people, by the way, before. But when I went back, it was even worse, because now I was old, and you know the Premio Bagutta in Italy, the film. We attended quite a few times, and they were sitting down to these writers, and I didn't know, I was shy. I know it's hard to believe I was shy, but I was shy. And all these people were so famous. I had pictures with them, you know. It was really great to be among these people, you know. And I actually remember being in the theater, doing a piece, because I used to do theater. I was a lousy actor, but I still tried to do. And I did a piece that was by Bompiani, and he was in the public. That was the greatest honor. Everybody was so exhilarated. It's like, wow, he's there. Wow, he's a friend of the family. Okay, you know. But this is what happens when you went back. He went back to this kind of world. So something changed a lot, because now he has the opportunity just to paint because he likes, not to make a living. Okay. So what does he paint? Here he goes. Italy, beautiful Italy. Now, if you're looking at these paintings, and as colorful as the early paintings were, and you look at the type of painting, these are the paintings in Lombardy, right? And look at that. They are simulated a different level of color expression. So now, from his expressionist period, he brought in a different experience to his still a very impressionist kind of painting, but it's got some expressionistic, you know, feelings in there. So now, not only you see a painting, but you see the feeling and the expression of the feeling of the painter. And these are, I don't know who owns them, but I believe they're owned by family members. I'm not 100% sure. The one on the left is Parco Sempione in Milan. And believe it or not, my father actually went out in the snow when he was 78 to paint. And it's like, against all popular belief, he used a 10-speed bike and a Cavaletto with him, and he went to paint. And that's one of the most beautiful paintings I think he painted. It's that one, because he had the feeling. That's his city, Milan. The one on the right is also beautiful. I believe it's a tree in the town of Bianzano on the lake of Iseo in northern Italy. And you can see that even though it is an impressionist or very kind of style, he has a different touch now. He has something else in it. Comes from experience too, truthfully, But he also loved flowers. He painted a lot of flowers. And his flowers are stunning. I mean, in the book, you see, this is the same book, by the way. So you're welcome to look at it anyway after. In the book, you're going to see there's a lot of flowers. As soon as he painted flowers, the day after they were sold, because and they were not sold cheap. So he was doing really good with this. When he painted flowers, he was very romantic. You feel the romantic in him, okay? There's something that you can see also this. These dolls belong to my niece, I believe, Elena. And he painted them at the end of 1977. They're stunning. They have something in them that goes beyond the dolls, but it's a feeling. The one on the left are clowns. He painted a lot of clowns. He loved clowns. Not the clowns that we see, the clowns from the circus, but not the main one, not the one that scares the kids, okay? Not a hit kind of movie. But he painted a lot of clowns that they're very, very much on the borderline of expressionist in this case, And he also painted a lot of seascapes. And here he goes where the expressionist and the impressionist meet. When he painted the seascapes, well, this is a storm with the boat in it. When we painted seascapes, I exactly know what he felt about the sea. Because he used to love, when I was a kid, I remember I used to come and by bicycle from Milan to Celle Ligure. That's part of one of the tour of Italy, by the way, And he used to come and always painted the sea. He went out to paint the sea. He loved the sea. So this is one of them, just to give you an idea. But you can feel that he went beyond the impressionist now. It's his own style, which does not classify him anymore in a way, Okay. I say the emotions continue. Now this chapter is pretty long, but I'll make it very fast. That tile is on a wall in the city of Alassio. That wall was created by Ernest Hemingway. And you know Ernest Hemingway, right? That's an American writer. He created it for, at that time, Alassio still is, it's a cultural place. So people meet famous writers and all that. It's a little pricey place. So, and my father used to go there. I remember going there as a kid sometimes. And my sister went there, and they put this tile, because they put tiles of important people that visited Alassio. And they left a mark, and this is one of them. So this was a very important step. This unfortunately came after he died. Unfortunately, you know, it's to say you become more important after you're dead.
Yes, right.
Now, that's me in the middle. Again, I know, I'm sorry, I don't want to get you tired. I look a little different.
Yes.
I was a little older, younger, sorry. That on the left is my mother, and that's Benito Di Lauro, the publisher. We are in the TV studio because they made a commemorative documentary type 1 hour show, and we were invited to talk about it and all that. I don't know what the film is, and that is very annoying too, but that's what happens with the years. Again, I am self-centered, so that's me again in the middle. If you don't recognize me, I'm not the one on the left, I'm the one in the middle, okay? The one on the left is actually the Italian consul, the consul of Italy. And the lady behind me is Miss Apulia USA of the year. And the other gentleman is the editor-in-chief of the Idea magazine. He's my business partner in the publishing company. So this, I was giving a speech at that exhibit at the National Arts Club. What was so special about that exhibit is that it was the first time in their history, there was a 130 years old club, that there was an Italian painter. And guess what? He had the highest number of visitors to the show that they ever had. So it was very successful. So, and it was a very, very important step, and it was something to remember him by. Now, poems. That is this last painting. He painted my son William when he was playing. He was, I think,
Your
1.5.
son? Your son?
Right? That's my son. Yes, he's 40 now. Well, it's going to be 40 in a few days. It was his last painting. He was sick. My father died of leukemia. Unfortunately, why did he die of leukemia? 2 reasons. One, he was a painter. But you say, why? I don't know if you remember, but the old time, they used to wash their hands with turpentine.
Yes.
Not a good thing. But there was something else that happened to him. He used to love to go on a 10-speed bike. According to the doctor, he was hit by a car, didn't get hurt, he just fell down, but when he fell, it did get the front of the bike into the pancreas. At the time, it seemed okay. The doctor said, no, there's something wrong with the pancreas, and the pancreas apparently caused the leukemia, and that's what happened. So, but anyway, so I put it here because it is, besides being a striking painting, but this is the last painting, but you see how full of joy he was. This is the most important thing about the person being able to do, and here goes back to the memo, to be able to do what you really have a passion for, right? Now, he won many awards. He's receiving an award, and besides winning awards for painting, he also won awards for poems. And that's a poem over there. I'm gonna read it from there. You don't mind, right? I read it for you. Spring, melt away your sleep, break your winter chains. Sound your trumpets, open your doors, and make it so that carefree children can run around in a circle of delight and intense joy. With the colorful thoughts from imagination and vitality, unleash your generous harmony, full of feeling and poetry, with lots of greenery and flowers in abundance, thank you, or spring.
Who wrote that?
He wrote that.
He knew enough English to be able to.
No, this is translated. I'm reading you the translation. If there's any faults in the translation, that's me. But I'm reading you the translation. No, he wrote it in Italian. He only wrote in Italian. Here they're all in Italian. In the English book, they're all in English, because most people that buy the English don't know Italian. But this is spring. So, you know, this painting, that's a little bit bigger than the original painting is. The original painting is a little bit smaller, but not that much more. And it gives you the feeling of spring, but he wrote the same way. He wrote with joy. He was a happy person. You can see it from the painting, right? So, to summarize, I wrote this book for the same reason I'm telling you, I'm begging you, write for your children, your grandchildren, leave memories behind. Do not just leave, oh, I wonder if mom did that, I wonder if dad did that. Don't leave that, write it down. Write the notes of your life, write the notes about what you remember about your parents, your grandparents, because something happened that doesn't happen anymore. When you were children, we used to be able to sit down and hear the stories from the family. And either your parents or your aunt or your grandmother used to tell you stories, right? We don't do that anymore. There is that, whoo! And we don't communicate that much anymore. Because of that, our children and grandchildren are going to suffer the lack of knowledge that comes from the new technology situation, and they're going to suffer not feeling the roots, not feeling the real reason this family thrived, this family expanded. So that's what you need to do, and that's why I dedicated this book to my father. It took me 11 years, yes. It took me 11 years to do the Italian one. It took me another year to do the English. Because, just to answer your question, I wrote the book originally in Italian, and then, foolishly, I even translated it. And when I translated, I rewrote some chapters because certain things are thought differently in the two languages, as you know. But basically, I'm the author of both of them. I did not use an external translator for that. So this is what, you know, the story of the dance of color is. Any questions?
Very
Fascinating. Yes.
Well, but fascinating. What did you like to do most? What did you like to paint most? Yes, anybody?
Flowers.
Flowers.
Flowers? His
But
children.
yes, yes.
His children.
His
Children.
There were so many sketches of his children during the war, especially when he was stressed. He would love to come home, and you couldn't talk to him, maybe he was tired and all that, and you figure that after painting for 10 hours, because 8 hours is now, the old times, and also he didn't have to respond to anybody, he painted maybe 10 hours, 12 hours, he would come home and you wanted to rest. No, he wanted to paint his children, or sketch them, because that was the important thing. And that goes back to the family. That's what you need to do. Anyway, if there are no questions, now as you can see from the book,
I think so.
so this book, now this, you say, well, this is not him. Okay, there's a few chapters in there that I could not cover. This is actually a dream of aliens he had. All these paintings were sold to a bank in Italy, and he actually had a very, very weird dream where he constructed a whole world. So there's a set of 12 paintings that were sold. They are, I would say, maybe 6 foot tall paintings. I actually have a smaller version because first he did sketches, which I don't know where they ended up. Then he did small paintings, and then he did the larger paintings based on that. So I have a smaller, let's say, I don't know, 2 feet high painting of that. But there was also another one, and this is the bombing of Milan. This is another dream he had. Why do you say dream? Because he lived the bombing of Milan, right? He lived in Bumping of Milan, and then a few years afterward, he had a dream. Let's call it a nightmare. Okay? So when he woke up, my mother said you couldn't talk to him, you had to paint. And he painted for the whole day. And he got just another 10 or 11 paintings. Sold to the same bank. They are in the directory in Arezzo, the city of Arezzo. They bought all the 2 sets of paintings. And so on and so forth. You know, you have all different pictures. There's 500 pictures in here. There's all different pictures. See, chickens. He painted nature. He loved to do it. Unfortunately, of the old paintings of nature, we don't have pictures.
Tiziano,
Yes.
I always have a question. You say he took this, it was a dream of what he lived, and then he dreamt about it and he painted. And you said he sold it to the bank. How was it marketed? What he just to go? How
How do you sell it?
How did he sell it? In other words, he had them.
He had somebody-
Okay,
He does them in his house. Did he?
No. He had
Studio?
exhibits. He had quite a few. In the book, you're going to find he had quite a few exhibits. At a certain
okay.
point in Milan, he actually had what they call a continuous exhibit. He had a gallery
Okay.
right outside of Milan where people go
Okay.
shopping. It's something like a shopping center.
Okay.
He had a gallery of his own with all his
Okay.
paintings. Yes, but he also, like everything else, you go by recommendation.
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth,
Yes.
they tell you
Word of
what to
mouth.
do.
Word of mouth. Articles.
Yeah. It
People
wasn't Amazon.
realize, people
wasn't Amazon.
people see the paintings in the papers, or they hear somebody else. They go. I remember people used to come and visit and say, "So I like this, I like that," and they would choose painting. He was, the funny part is that by the time he passed away, his paintings were like anywhere from $3,000 to $4,000 each.
Wow, nice.
Nice.
Unfortunately, with artists, if you don't continue that, and I obviously had to make my own living, I didn't have, if you don't continue that, you go into what they call, nobody knows who you are section anymore, because, and that's one of the reasons of doing the book.
So now you're selling the book, right?
I'm
It's
selling
for
the
sale.
book, yeah.
Where?
You can find it on Barnes & Noble, you can find it on Amazon, you can find it in the Italian library online. Actually, in Italy, if you live in Italy, you were lucky because Amazon is doing some kind of strange promotion where he sells the painting at a lower price than it cost us to print. But they charge you $22 for the shipment because this is £3. You can kill with people. See? Did you see?
It's beautiful.
This is the Italian
It's
version.
beautiful,
Anyway.
it's heavy.
But the book explains all that. It explains the signature, for example, that we don't have. I can't go over all the details. The small paintings. I call them the small masterpiece. He did a lot of paintings that maybe this tall, and they're great paintings. They have their own niche. They used to sell those. I remember in the United States, he used to sell them for $200. In those times, you're talking about the 60s, the end of the 60s, early 70s. But again, if you don't keep on doing the marketing, it's like a singer. I mean, Polanka, remember Polanka?
Yes, I remember.
Do people know Polanka anymore besides you and me? And no. Why? Because if you don't keep on advertising, don't do the marketing, no matter how good and known you are,
Right, but
you
the
disappear.
Beatles- well, the Beatles is still
Unless you're
alive.
Renoir,
Well, that's-
then the
well,
museums
Polanca's
have it.
still alive,
That's different.
I don't know. Tiziano, how about
Any questions? You're Italian, come on.
Your work is so wonderfully colorful.
What?
Your work is so wonderfully colorful. Your
That's my
joy.
father's work.
No, but you, the
Oh,
passion
thank
that
you,
you
thank
have.
you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
It's just lovely
Yes.
to look at.
Did you get any of that yourself? Do you like to paint yourself?
No.
No.
No, no, no. I
Any
didn't
of
even try to paint.
the children,
No, I used, my daughter.
your daughter loves to paint?
My daughter is, she is very good. I have a couple of nieces that are very good. I did not paint because I was terrified by the possibility of doing a comparison. My brother used to
It's
paint.
Italian.
Unfortunately, passed away, but
No, but your pictures, look at
I
the
used to
pictures.
sculpt. I used to make sculptures.
Sculpture.
I actually won an award for it, and then I stopped because guess what? I was in medical school and I was working full time, and I opened a company and I didn't have time. Time is an issue, right? So now, as you see, I published 14 books. Why did I do that? Because times now is a little bit more available. Although my wife says, you're always busy, you have no time, so you know. But,
That's true.
Tiziano, I have.
all right, thank you very much, everybody, for being
Thank you
here.
very much.